Jake, welcome back. Good to see you, man. Take me through why you came to this decision to come back, the timeline, and how it just kind of evolved in your mind.
I mean, I was contacted by Coach B, and it kind of like that's kind of what sparked the interest. Like originally, like later on, because later on in about early February, late January, we started the conversation, and it kind of and after a little bit of thought, I decided to kind of move forward with it, and then that whole and obviously I had signed with an agent, so I had to get a waiver and go through the NCAA to get cleared and get approved to come back to Illinois and without any penalty. And we started that conversation and ended up going pretty well. And I think it was a match after talking to a lot of guys in the program as well. I heard nothing but good things. So it was something that seemed like it'd be a good fit. And that's kind of what made me decide to come back to Illinois, and it ended up working out.
What was it about your conversations with Brett that drew you back?
I mean, he just had a really good vision, and I think a lot of it. So I mean, it's one thing to say something, correct? Like, so I mean, I loved it. It was great to hear what he had to say, and it's one thing to say it, but then everything I asked all the players that were still at Illinois kind of backed what he was saying, and when all of them vouched for what he was saying and they liked all the staff that they had brought in, it made me want to get on board as well.
So now that you're back for a sixth year, Jake, like what's your hopes? What are your goals?
I mean, I think the hopes and goals don't really change. I mean, every year you want to win a Big Ten championship and beat your rival, beat Northwestern, and have an All-American season personally, that sort of thing, and just do something that I haven't been able to do at Illinois yet. So I say those are the goals.
Thanks, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, have you had a chance to? Great to see you back, by the way.
Thank you.
Have you had a chance to think about your Illinois career? I know you were never kind of a dwell in the past type guy, but have you had a chance to kind of think about what that was like in total?
Are you like referring to like just like looking back on my career? Is that?
Yeah. What you've done to this point, kind of where you are and what you did to this point.
Yeah, I mean, I have, and I kind of said it in that little video that Illinois football released. Like, it wasn't exactly how I imagined. That played a part into it as well, and it was I wasn't exactly the senior year I imagined going out at Illinois would be, and so that kind of what else prompted my choice to come back and get after things with Coach B and his staff.
Do you think at all about like legacy and what people think about Jake Hansen down the road? Is that a big deal to you? And do you have a great chance to, I guess, enhance that this year? Correct.
I have mixed thoughts about that question, because part of me doesn't care a whole lot what people think, but but there is a small part of me that is also like, I do want to leave a good legacy at the University of Illinois, and and know that I did everything I could for the university. So.
Last thing, I know you're aware of the history of linebacker, the school. We talk about this all the time. So being in that mix of people that have been here before, I know that's important to you, right?
Of course, yeah. No, that's something that I definitely take very seriously, and something that legacy that I'd like to keep the tradition, keep going.
Thanks, Jake. Good talking to you.
Yep, appreciate it.
Hey, Jake, good morning. Thanks for doing this. Coming back in a potentially, I guess, a different defensive scheme under what Coach Bielema wants to run and Coach Walters, what kind of emotions or feelings you have about switching over to a 3-4 or whatever exactly they're trying to run?
It's exciting to do something a little bit different at the college level. I've been kind of, I wouldn't say like stuck, but like I've been kept to a 4-3 with Coach Smith's defense in the past 5 years. But I think it'll be interesting to get a taste something new and something different, and I think that'll also help prepare me for the next level, hopefully. So.
And then looking at this new different scheme, what kind of excites you about it other than just trying something new? It's something totally different, something that might put you and the defense in a position to be a little bit more successful, I assume.
Coach Bielema, some things that really I liked about him and what he said about his defense and really his offense as well. Just his kind of philosophy is putting guys in position that they're best suited for and trying to minimize weaknesses. I think that's obviously you want to do that with every defense, but he's harped on that a lot. And with deeper conversation, I've been able to understand that a little bit more. So.
All right, I'll jump in. Hey, Jake, good to see you back. The NFL draft process, declaring, hiring an agent, everything you went through after that. What was that all like for you? What did you get out of that that maybe can help you moving forward after you play this last season at Illinois and probably try to do that again next year or later this year, I guess?
It's an up and down process. I'll say that. But I'd say it was really hard for me to officially like make the call to want to come back to school because it seems so close and so in your grasp to do, and something that like I wanted to do for so long. That's what made it so hard for me to really just pull the trigger and come back. But ultimately I decided that was the best thing, and that's going to be 100% what I want to do moving forward. But another thing is it's a hard like process as far as making decisions. So you have to decide. First thing you got to decide is there's different things about deciding on an agent. There's deciding on a training facility. There's deciding on that. So like I think going through it once and really understanding how it all works and the ins and outs of it, because I had to. The waiver process is actually was quite extensive. Not to get too detailed into it, but Illinois helped out a ton. The compliance department helped out a ton, but it just takes a kind of a long time. So I had to continue before I had official approval. I had to continue like I was just going through the entire draft process, going forward as if I was going to be in the 2021 draft. And understanding the ins and outs of it is going to help me a lot going forward. Especially like just when I come out next year, in the 2022 draft, hopefully. So that's something that I'll share with my teammates as well and keep that information real close.
And I know we talked about the system you're going to be entering, but just the linebackers room in general. I know it doesn't change an immense amount. Milo being gone, obviously, but you had the transfer CJ Hart, and then you know all the other guys who are in there really. So how do you feel about the direction the linebacker room is heading into the 2021 season?
I think right before we had some tough season-ending injuries at backer, Tariq Barnes and Kalen Tolson were starting to play some really good ball. So I'm excited about those guys, and we got obviously those new guys coming in to help out. So I'm excited with the direction that we're headed as far as the linebacker core, and hoping I can lead those guys and they'll take me back with open arms.
Thanks, Jake.
Hey, Jake, good to see you back, man. You said it was kind of a hard thing being so close to the draft, obviously had declared. What was kind of that pushing point that you decided it was maybe time to reverse course and give it another year at Illinois?
I truly think that like I do have some unfinished business at Illinois. There's a couple things I never did. I was never a first team All Big Ten guy. I mean, there was never we never played in the Big Ten championship, wasn't able to play in a Rose Bowl. Like those are things that I've wanted to do for all 5 years and I wasn't able to do. And after talks with Coach Bielema and thinking it through, I think that that's something that's very possible with him. So that's ultimately what was the tipping point for me.
So you guys have been talking, I think you said since February, you and Coach Bielema, who kind of initiated those? Can you take us into a little bit of how that picked up enough steam to get to this point?
He reached out to me, and it was the initial talks went really well, and so I figured I might as well. I figured I should explore that option, and we started the waiver process, because, like I said, I was signed with an agent, and that process, like, it's a pretty long one, and eventually I got the approval, and then so that option was available, and I after talking even further and further with him, it ended up being a good fit, and I think that was the move. So,
do you remember the moment that you decided that was it? I mean, was it kind of like an aha type of situation, or was it just like the building of a couple weeks, months, or how'd that play out?
I wouldn't say it was an aha moment. It was I was pretty indecisive for a little bit, and I decided that I think I after just thinking about it more and more and more, it started to that idea started to become more enticing to me, and talking to buddies back at school who were really enjoying it, and I think that's kind of how it grew on me.
Thanks, Jake. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Hey, Jake, you mentioned kind of talking to some of your former teammates and how much they were enjoying it. Did any of them reach out maybe earlier in the process, trying to maybe sway you back to school, since there is such a large group of that senior class that's using that extra year?
A lot of them actually, I didn't want to draw too much attention to it, like originally, before anything was for sure, because it wasn't but when I decided to make it a public thing, or when Illinois made it a public thing, it wasn't exactly a lot of time between then and when I got approved by the NCAA. So it wasn't like, even if they wanted to say, "Hey, you should do it," I couldn't just do it because I didn't have approval. So I would say there wasn't a ton of talks about that, and I didn't want to contact too many friends at Illinois before I said, "Hey, like, I'm gonna come back," if I didn't really have that waiver.
So many of those seniors told us the same thing, that they didn't want to leave their career with the season that you guys had last year. I think you might have been the first one to use that unfinished business term, though. Did you take a page off of Io's playbook with that one, or kind of what went into that exact phrasing?
After hearing that he used it, I can't really say it was original, but I really, honestly, once that was said, I did remember that he used that, and I was like, dang, I mean, I guess that was already taken. So
Thanks, Jake.
Yep.
Do we just jump in, or?
Yeah, go ahead.
All right. How you doing, Jake?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
All right. Brett Bielema, I know his defensive background, his Big Ten track record probably played a lot into the decision of you coming back for a sixth year. However, when he recruited Russell Wilson from NC State to Wisconsin, he talked about showing him off downtown Madison and, wowing him that it's a football town. Did he try to charm you in any way?
I don't necessarily think that. I think I kind of, like, based on our conversations, that's not really the type of person that I am. And I think he realized that relatively early on. But I think it was just more of, like, a lot of the players backing what he had to say. And because a lot of what he said, I mean, it sounds great. It really sounds great up front. But and it's like, maybe that's a little hard to believe, but a lot of the players backed just about everything he had to say, and that was really what did it for me.
Thank you.
Hey, Jake, I know the format for the combine this year changed a little bit. Did you receive an invite to the combine or any of the pro days, I guess?
So I did receive a combine invite.
Okay.
it was in the capacity. It's like that also kind of played into it as well. There was no the combine, the NFL released a statement that said there was going to be no on-field workouts. I think that's pretty public knowledge. So that's all a little bit of it as well. Like there was no chance for me to show myself workout in front of everyone, in front of the scouts, because there is something to be said about going to the combine and experiencing that, because that's also something that I've been watching since middle school and something that I've wanted to do, and not being able to do that was definitely a factor in that as well. But yeah, I did receive a combine invite.
For sure. And did you speak to any of your teammates that also had declared for the draft? I don't know if you've kept in touch with Kendrick or Milo or any of them when you were kind of in this in-between process, just sort of 1 foot out, 1 foot in, deciding, what you wanted to do.
Yeah, I did keep in touch with a little bit of I would say it was I talked to Kendrick Green quite extensively. The other guys, it was a couple text messages back and forth, but I don't think a lot of them knew the extent of what was going on.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Jake, I had a couple quick follow-ups. When did you plan on getting back to Champaign? And when we talked to like Io, for example, there were still logistics of like housing and where he was going to live. Do you have any of those logistics still to figure out?
I had the housing figured out. I have so I signed most of the leases in Champaign are 12-month leases. So I still have a lease until August in Champaign. But I'm still enrolled in school. I was enrolled in classes the whole time. I never unenrolled. So I was finishing my master's. But that's something that I'll also be able to finish throughout the rest of the season next year, which I'm happy about. And I do not know the exact date that I'll be back at school, but I'm working on that as well. I moved out of my apartment, so I have to get all my stuff back together and figure out whether I want to fly up there and drive up there. So that's still in the works, and I'm still figuring all that out.
It's a heck of a drive, man.
It is a heck of a drive. I'm hoping it's a flying decision. So.
We've also talked to you, Jake, for basically the last 5 years about your relationship with Lovey, and it's you really didn't hide how close you guys were. The prospect of having to learn a new coach, learn a new coaching staff. I mean, did that play into any of making this decision and kind of starting fresh, really, just for 1 year?
I think that's what originally made me not want to come back. To be completely honest, originally, back in December. I think that's what originally made me decide that I wanted to move on. But then, it's also, it can be looked at both ways. Like I could see wanting a fresh start, something cool, and a new defense, and but yeah, that I think it can be looked at both ways.
Cool. Thank you, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Jake, I also wanted to follow up. You've mentioned a lot about the talks with your teammates and how important that was in verifying the things that Coach Bielema kind of said. But have you discussed any the major changes or differences in the workouts that they've been doing with Coach Tank or anything like that inside of the weight room?
Yeah, that was something also, like when I talk about Coach Bielema's staff that he was talking about and their coaches that he brought in, I mean, the strength staff definitely plays into it as well. And yeah, I think a lot of the players love Coach Tank and love what he has to offer and what he's bringing to the table. It's also it's similar to learning a new defense. It's learning a new strength coach and how he wants to attack the weight room, because there's probably a million different ways, strength and conditioning ideologies and theories and things like that. So I think they are really excited to have him and work with him as well.
And then have you had any specific conversations with Coach Boo about what you might be doing inside of the linebacker room?
I haven't, honestly. I probably wouldn't tell you even if I did.
Thanks, Jake. I appreciate it.
Guys, all good? Anybody got anything else?
Sorry, I got one more, if it's okay.
Go ahead.
Okay. Jake, we were speaking to maybe Owen Carney a couple months ago, and he mentioned, part of his decision to return was Bielema's connection to the NFL and just his ability to get him to the next level. Is that kind of the same case for you? I mean, how appealing is that for Bielema to have a connection to the NFL?
I mean, it's always something that plays into it. I think he was able to give me some advice that maybe some coaches couldn't. But I mean that I don't think that ultimately was what did it for me.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you, Jake. Thanks, everybody.
Yep. Thank you.
Jake.
Welcome back, Jake.
Appreciate it. Talk to you guys soon.